it was a rough situation growing up, and I understood that, at an early age, I kind of had to overcome some of this to move forward.
Today, we have a very special guest. We have Mr. Jay Salters. He is the founder of Act Now Education, a business consultant for the Greater Baltimore Urban League, a U.S. Naval officer for over 18 years. He actually holds a graduate's degree, has multiple national certifications. He's a Spirit of Bob Hope awardee. He's also a subject matter expert on education consultation, team building, business development, business coaching, and public speaking. Jay, I really appreciate you joining us today.
No, I appreciate being here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Jay, you have a very impressive resume, very impressive background. You've come from a long way of success, and you're still moving. I'd like to hear about where it all started for you. Take us back to the very beginning.
So childhood time frame, right? I think that's where it starts for me. I grew up in a austere environment. I would say, when I was young, my mom, essentially, I didn't live with my mom. I grew up in a foster care situation with my sister. I would say that experience has been what has been like the catalyst for me in who I've become. And it's always been like the foundation. I don't have any like really smart, cool sayings, but I do like listening to different podcasts and different reading different books. And one podcast, I forget the name, but essentially it was talking about like three things that you have control over and which you don't have control over that define who you are, right? So your childhood and your situation when your family, you don't really have control over that situation. But that's what shapes you. And then if you look at what your community, right, the community is the next piece to that. You don't really have control over who's in your community. I mean, you can switch around, but essentially that really have no control over that either. And that's kind of what influences you. Lastly is the decisions that you make, right? So the decisions that you make are what define you. If you look at the other two, your family situation, how you were born, no control over that, but it shapes you. No control over the community that you're surrounded by, but it influences you. Overall, leads the decisions that you make are what define you. And unknowingly, that's what kind of led me to this point that I'm at now. Good, bad, or indifferent. The choices that I've made throughout my life have led me to here, and I'm thankful for where I'm at. That's kind of like I would say what I've lived my life by unknowingly. So as a child, growing up in the foster care system, very abusive situation, the caretaker that took care of myself, and then there was another child who had Down syndrome. We both were foster. We had the same foster parent in the same house. Slade was just like, she was pretty relentless. He would just, I don't know if she was mad at the world or not, but essentially she took a lot of her anger out on myself. And his name is Lewis. He'd take a lot of anger out on Lewis. And a lot of times when Lewis would do stuff, because he just didn't know. And at the time, like I said, I was 5. I just knew something was different, but I didn't want him to get, I knew what was going to come. So I tried to shield him as best as I can at an early age. So when he would do something, I would try to cover down for it, knowing the repercussions would come directly towards me. So, I mean, I want to say that's where it started for me in my decision in trying to do for others and look out for others. So that's helped define me. I mean, it was a rough situation growing up, and I understood that, at an early age, I kind of had to overcome some of this to move forward. And I've used that as in different points in my life to kind of move forward in things that I'm doing, whether I feel like I can execute it or not. I try my best, put my best foot forward and lean in. And yeah, that's where it starts for me. I think that's where it's the center, the core of who I am.
How did that abusive childhood translate into your teenage years and start to mold who you are today?
I mean, everyone has a past, right? And everyone has a story that kind of, I would say for me, it gave me a chip on my shoulder, honestly. It was just more so trying to overcome something but feeling very devalued in life at an early age, and then going into teenhood. And at the time, like I said, there was some clear differences between me and my sister's situation. My sister was
Mm-hmm.
she was she lived in a different household, same family, and they were abusive. Same thing, sexually abusive, verbally abusive, physically abusive, and same thing for me. The woman that took care of me, her daughters, she would take me to their house, and the same thing. We've experienced the same type of similarities. But for me, I understood that getting out of that situation was the only way that I could keep my head on straight, because the situation is just something that a kid couldn't understand. I just knew, but I had to get out of that. For my sister, she was older. She's 4 years older than me. She wasn't able to do that, right? So early on, that resilience helped me understand that, if I do what I need to do, I don't act up, I don't, talk back, I try to keep everything on the straight and narrow as best as I possibly can, there's a better chance of me getting out of that situation, going back to my mom. And that's exactly what happened to me. On my sister, on the other hand, didn't get that opportunity because of what she's been through, and she ended up staying in the system. Throughout my life, that was my only, my sister was close. Even though we were in separate households, we were very close. So it always had an effect on me as I got older. Like I said, the situation that this brought up made me feel some way about life, and getting the hand I was dealt, and not being able to see anything outside of just what was there. It was like I said, it's a pretty bleak situation. But like, as I went through school, no importance of education, didn't even understand what was so significant about being, the education system didn't really seem like in my favor to help me out, or where I can get a lot out of it. And that I didn't come from that type of family line, where a lot of my mom got her degree. My mom didn't do any schooling. She was in a situation where she had to take care of her 9 brothers and sisters at an early age. Sorry, 8 brothers and sisters at an early age. So she didn't get to finish school. So the importance of education just wasn't there for me early on. And I mean, I felt like a lot of the situations that I was trying to overcome through time had to do with that childhood. And when I started to understand, there's more to life than, just letting things happen to you. And I've always been, like I said, I'm always going after whatever I can. So I try to do my best with what I know. And as I slowly started to understand what opportunities were out there, it started changing things for me. And that's kind of, I don't even know if I answered your question correctly, but that's kind of how I got to, as a teen, figuring out that I want to take a different path than most. I didn't want to be a statistic.
Yeah. And, the reason I asked is because I come from a very similar situation as well. And for me, I was the youngest out of all my siblings. For me, it was more of a backseat. I was able to see things ahead of me because I was younger, and look and observe people that were older than me and where they were in life. And I don't know if you feel the same way, but I kind of saw it as a crossroad, or not necessarily a crossroad, but a road that forks. And you have choices, who you associate with, what decisions you make, who you surround yourself with, and things of that nature. I mean, was it difficult growing up where you grew up to kind of disassociate yourself from the folks who were doing the things that were probably not going to lead you in the right direction? So we're talking about like drugs, crime. Did you just have something inherently inside you that told you that maybe you could make better decisions and not follow other people? Because it sounds like at an early age, you had just an inherent natural leadership trait about you.
I would hope it. I would love to say that it was that, but I think it was just more so in terms of just just trying to survive the situation. I mean, in the 80s in New York City, I mean that was, the whole war on drugs. There was a lot of, just a lot of bad things happening around that time. And obviously is just some of the things that I've been through. I knew that, I did want more for myself. I didn't know how to go about that, but I tried my best to find opportunities to kind of help me get out of that. Cause it's just, situations in life that, you just look at things and like, hey, do I want to be like the next person? Like if a friend of mine got killed or something, like, do I want that to be for my life? And if not, then what am I going to do to make it different? And then understanding that, and I didn't like, I understood at an early age that no one was going to be able to provide for me the way that I would like to, right? So I had to do what I can to kind of make that path myself. And a simple example would be like maybe when I was like 6 or 7, the ice cream man would always come around, right? So everyone wants ice cream. I'd never had any money to buy ice cream, but it took maybe the first time me feeling like, that's something that I want to be able to do and I couldn't do it. And that second time that ice cream truck came around, I'm like, I'm going to go do something that I can help make that opportunity or a possibility for me. So I started like bagging at the local grocery store. So just so I can buy my own ice cream, because I knew that it wasn't an option unless I did something and took action to do it. So I would say from those points early in my life are what helped me define, like, if there's something out there that I wanted, I got to get it.
I can identify with you 100%. And I remember, it's funny how you remember the ice cream man, because when you grow up in a less than fortunate situation, you remember the small things that teach you some of the biggest lessons. And the reason I say that is because I identify with you. I remember sitting in that one room that me and my mom shared in the women's shelter, and how humbling that was. I was hiding. Like I was too embarrassed to leave. And I would sit there and just read books. You talking about the ice cream man and how you felt at that time, I think teaches a lot of people the lesson of hunger, of going out and getting it. And I think it's really important, that I talk about this specific thing right now, because these things that you're mentioning, these are the logs that are inside your soul that are on fire, that it wakes you up every day and it keeps you moving and it makes you hungry to continue succeeding. And not only just succeeding, but helping other people out. And so you have a very impressive resume of reaching out to people and helping other people level up. There are many people that are trapped in similar situations that you just mentioned, and you said you got out of it. What opportunities did you take, or what experiences led you in the right direction? How did you break free of the abusive childhood and the foster care system?
Like I said, for me early on, understanding that, I remember the social worker telling me, understanding that, if you do these certain things, you'll be able to go back to your mom, because she was going through a rehabilitation at that time, and they wanted to make sure that it was a safe environment for me to be back in that situation. So I did exactly what I was told. So I made sure I checked those boxes so I can get back to my mom. And that's what ended up happening. But, at that time, I was a very broken, damaged kid, right? So it was understanding what I am and how I can improve it.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's born the same with 2 arms, 2 hands. Well, for the most part, right? Everyone's born the same, able body. I didn't want to live my life blaming others for my misfortunes. And not to say like at an early age, I thought, let me turn this around. But that's what it ended up being, right? It ended up being what forced me or pushed me to say, I'm going to do my best. But I didn't really get that until actually I once I completed high school. Like I said, because education was important to me. It wasn't something that, resonated with me. I didn't feel like I was going to get anywhere with that. Didn't know, so I didn't know what I don't know. So at that point, I was just trying to figure it out. But I remember signing up for school, right? Because, everyone was saying like, look, in order to be successful, you have to go to college right after high school. So I remember going to school, and just because I didn't know anything, I didn't sign up for any like financial aid or anything. And then I remember it was a community college. And I'm signing up for school. And at the time, a friend of mine was kind of telling me, this is what I need to do. This is what would help me. And so I went along with it. And then I remember like signing the documents and looking at how much that fee was. And it was like $18,000 to go to school. And I was like, what is that? That is the most money I've ever seen in my entire life, that I owe somebody. So at that point, I was like, I'm not doing this because I know that my mom can't afford this, and nor can I find a job that, will sustain me at that time. So I was looking at my options after that. I was like, hey, what can I do to kind of help me get this education that everyone says is so important? And my first choice was the military. And I haven't looked back since.
So, what would you say was your next big break that propelled you into the next chapter of your life, away from all of where you came from?
Like I said, once I was I say once I was in the military, it was really that, right? So like that those experiences, the chip on the shoulder that I walked around with, I was fortunate enough to have key people in my life that guided me. Whether I wanted it or not, didn't know it or not, whether I needed it or not, it was essential for my growth and development. And it helped me start to pave the path of this journey that I'm on now. But I would say it's those individuals that took some time out of their day to see this young sailor and say, hey, I see what you're doing. You could do better. You can improve this way. I've been through this. You can do this to help you overcome. So a lot of that, and they didn't know my past. They just knew, just about me, but essentially they took the time to help mold me. And that's what ended up being what pushed me into the direction of making things happen and being a positive change for others because of what they installed in me. I didn't, like I said, at that time, didn't feel like I had any value, anything to add, or any benefits to bring to anybody. My past, you kind of carry that with you, and you feel like that baggage. Anyone that sees you, they see that. So it's really hard for you to kind of deal with that, and then it takes you some time to reconcile with those things that you've had happen to you. And for me, forgiving those individuals that were around in the situations I was in, hurt people. That's really what it is. But also, mentors and individuals that take the time to guide you can just change that perspective of what you see. And that's what ended up happening for me. Like I said, I didn't really have a major father figure in my life, but it was just a lot of individuals that stepped up, and I watched them. I watched their actions. I watched how they, did things, and I've learned from there.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of put me on my path.
Okay. So after high school, you enlist in the military. You enlisted in the Navy. Why did you choose Navy?
I didn't choose Navy at first. I chose the Army, actually. Not a lot of people know this.
Go Army.
I chose the Army, yeah. And obviously, like anyone else, the recruiter was like, hey, you want to join the Army? You can make this amount of money. You could do these things. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, you can get your education. I was like, okay, I know that's something important that I guess I need to get. So let me work on that. And the recruiter was telling me to take the ASVAB, right? So he's like, yeah. I was like, how long is this test? And I had something to do that day. I think I had a game or something. And he was like, yeah, the test only takes about 30 minutes. Everyone knows the ASVAB does not take no 30 minutes. It takes probably about 2 to 3 hours. I don't know. I'm guesstimating, but it doesn't take 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And so he took me to this far off place outside of New York City to take this test. I think it was upstate New York. I start going through the test, and then I look at the time it says on the test, and it's like, yeah, I think I remember saying 2 hours or something. I was like, oh, that's not happening. He said 30 minutes. I'm going to get this test done in 30 minutes. So I got the test done in 30 minutes, and I called him right away and said, hey, can you come get me? And he's like, are you not supposed to be done for a few hours? I was like, that's the reason why I'm not joining the Army, because this guy here. So it was just a weird situation that just made me like, all right, yeah, if you're going to lie to me up front, then I'm not about it. My best friend joined the Marine Corps, and he was trying to get me to join the Marine Corps with him. So he was like, hey, Jay, we're going to run across the Brooklyn Bridge. And I was like, yeah, that sounds cool, man. I'll meet you down there. And so I met him down the Brooklyn Bridge at the Marine Corps recruiting office. And this Gunny, he's live. He's wired up. He's like, look, he's hyping everybody up, getting them motivated. And I was all about that, right? And then it just let me know I'm a little bit different, I guess, when it comes to things, thinking things through. He was telling he's like, you ready to go to war? You ready to go to war? And I'm thinking like, I don't know if I'm ready to go to war right now. That's a good question. Let me ponder that. So, but he's trying to motivate people, right? And he's yelling at like, you gotta be ready to go to war. And I'm in the back of like, it was probably like 6 or 7 of us, and everyone's eating it up. But he's going on this, and I guess he sees me trying to like in thought, and he's like, look, to be in my
Right.
Marine Corps, you got to be ready to go to war. Are you ready to go to war? I was like, I'm not sure if I'm ready to go to war. And he's like, well, you got to be ready to die. You ready to die? I was like, no, I definitely know I'm not ready to die right now. And so in the middle of his motivational speech to run across this Brooklyn Bridge, that's because I'm like, we're here to cross the bridge. Like, what does this have to do with dying and going to war? I just want to run the Brooklyn Bridge. So totally like threw off his whole motivational kill. Like they did the run without me. So I was like, that's not my life. I don't want to do that. So I went downstairs to the Navy recruiter, funny enough. And I wasn't planning on joining the Navy. It was just more so like, hey, well, I talked to the other two officers and Air Force recruiter wasn't there, which is a common story for most, right? And then, so the Navy guy, he's like, what's going on? I was like, nothing much. He's like, got your PT gear on. I was like, yeah, I was supposed to run across the Brooklyn Bridge with the Marines, and I told him the situation. They all laughed about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, we wouldn't have done that either. And then he smoothed it in. Like he was like, hey, we got opportunities too in the Navy, and this is what we got, man. If you want to travel the world and see the world, and at that point, I had, the Army recruiter lied to me, had the Marine Corps recruiter try to get me to do something and change my logic of thinking at the point, and then the Navy recruiter was like, look, I don't got to tell you, I'm just going to show you. So he had this drawer full of pictures of different places he's been around the world. And he's like, look, I've been here, I've enjoyed this. And I was like, that's it. That's what I need to do. I need to be able to go to places. Yeah. What do I need to do this? So took my ASVAB there and then never looked back.
I can't tell you how many times I've heard recruiter stories, and it's amazing how much of an impact recruiters have on recruits. And the last person that I interviewed was Sergeant John Peck, and he went to talk to the Navy recruiter, and he was off on another appointment somewhere else. And so the Marine recruiter scooped him up and said, step in my office. Next thing you know, he's a Marine. So it's amazing how just that one impressionable recruiter can change the course of someone's life. It's impactful because, you ended up signing up for the Navy, and here you are 18 years later. You definitely have quite a few experiences behind you that impacted you during those impressionable years, and that's quite the story. But do you think that because of your past, your childhood, or where you came from, you were initially set up to fail? Many people nowadays feel as if because they're dealt a bad hand at the beginning, there's little hope for success.
I could definitely understand what one would feel that way. But like I said, at the end of the day, your decisions are what defines you, right? So if I lived a life of my past was the end all be all, and like granted, like I said, it took some right mentors for me to see otherwise. But if I didn't have that and I wasn't able to understand that, then yeah, I could definitely see. But no, you have to be the change that you want to be, right? In this life we live, we don't know if we're going to be here tomorrow or, we'll live years on end. So for me, once I got an understanding of I'm just going to do the best that I can in any opportunity I'm given. And if I fail, then I fail. But, I'd rather try something and not do well at it and earn the experience from that than to kind of limit myself based off of who I am and my past. And like I said, and then I tell people this, like, I'm not the smartest guy out there, but I work hard. I can almost outwork anybody when it comes to trying to do things that align with what my goals and my visions are. I scored a 42 on my ASVAB. So that's after understanding that the test wasn't a 30-minute test. It was the second time me taking it. But, those things kind of just, humble you and let you know that, there's people out there that are very capable. But I work in a field where there's a lot of people that are extremely smart, but their execution and maybe the way they see themselves and some of their insecurities limit them on their capacity and capabilities. I don't let that be a factor for me. I want my work to show for who I am. If I don't know it, I'm going to learn it. If it's hard for me to learn, I'll just keep at it until, it's either I got it or it's still areas for improvement. But for me, yeah, I believe my past has set me up in a way. And I know this sounds weird, but it has set me up in a way to where I'm more appreciative of the opportunities and the moments that we take for granted. Mm-hmm. Because I could definitely not be here. I could definitely be in a different situation. I could have been in the Marine Corps. No, joking. But I could have been in a different situation, right? But I'm here, and so it's important to be in the presence and make things happen.
Yeah, I'm really a full believer now more than ever that things happen for a reason. And ever since I started podcasting, I've ran into some great people who've helped me along the way. You included, definitely. You're definitely somebody that I will always remember for, reaching out and helping me out. And so that's huge. Can you tell us what's the most memorable or impactful experience that you've had in your 18 plus years in the Navy so far? Or maybe you have more than one.
I don't know. That's kind of hard, but I could say like probably my most impactful, where shows me that if I really put the work and energy and effort into it, I can achieve my goals. So it's working on my dolphins. Dolphins is a submarine qual. It typically takes, for the most part, most people 4 to 6 months to knock it out. And this is including any other duty that they have. So, me doing 12-hour watches, you're on for 12 hours and you're off for 12 hours. It doesn't really give you a lot of time to kind of work on your quals, as you need to be on watch when you're on watch, and then your off time is whatever you want to do. But you mostly you want to make sure you get sleep, right? So for me, I was just like, look, this thing is a challenge, and I'm definitely willing to see if I can complete that challenge. And so I just put my best effort for it, and I was grinding on this boat to kind of get this qual done, talking to people, and this is all systems and gear and equipment that I have no background in. Like a lot of people would have engineering understanding. Being able to talk about these systems to be able to save the next man next to you or the woman next to you. So it was that kind of, and then I had some people motivate me a little bit, but it was a group of other individuals trying to work on this qual. And, at the end of the day, not a lot of people got it, but I was surprised that, I just stayed with it and got it done. And I was like, if I could do this, what else can I do? And it kind of just opened up the floodgates for me with, as far as like seeing what my potential is, because knocking out a qual in 34 days with very little sleep and, still standing watch and doing everything else that I had to do, let me know that I'm not, what I thought I was. There's more to me than that. And so that kind of just changed my trajectory. And I'm thankful for it. I mean, it was an awesome assignment, awesome duty. And like I said, I think if I didn't have that to start off with, I wouldn't know what it was like to put so much work in and reap the benefits of my labor. So once I saw that, it was just like, all right, if I could do this, and what else can I do? So when I started stacking stuff, it's like it's probably not as hard as what I did with the subqual. So, I knocked out another warfare device, knocked out another warfare device. 7 warfare devices later, I'm like, okay, what else can I do? What else opportunities are out there? And that's kind of like, I guess, the way that it was for me. It was something real simple, not like a personal goal or anything, but it's just more so growing within, understanding who I am, understanding what I'm capable of, and what can I overcome. And I'll let you know, it's not easy. It was not like, I'm not trying to say like this is easy. It was extremely difficult for me, but it was just more so, I think the difficulty was in limiting myself and my own understanding of what I can achieve. And once I got that out of my head, I got the right mentors around me, or had the right mentors kind of mold me. Everything else was kind of just like, look, I got this one life to live to make things happen. I want to do that. And then I realized in the midst of that, right, when I'm doing all this stuff, and then, granted, like, it was, those moments were I was extremely prideful of those, because, my effort. But at the end of the day, I still feel kind of empty about it, except for the first qual. But at the end of the day, I still feel kind of empty about it. And then some of the other accomplishments that I've had, I still felt pretty empty about it. It was like, it wasn't really nothing there for it. Like, all right, what's next? So having my mentors kind of guide me. The first mentor I can remember is Master Chief Simpson. I got a bunch of good stories about him, but he saw me as a young E5 and was like, look, you're doing a lot of great things, but you could be doing better. And there's one thing to say that you're a stellar individual, and, you focus and you're driven, because, I was trying to make sure that was my path. And he's like, but there's another thing to help others do the same and be that type of servant leader. So that was kind of like the first example that I've seen of that. And, someone actually talking to me, and he was a Master Chief at the time. And you remember, I just put on E5. So I remember him telling me, Petty Officer Salters is not a lot different between me and you. And I was like, hey, you're a Master Chief. There's a bunch that's different. You have years of experience. But in that, it just made me think about that statement so much. So that was like, man, if that's the case, right? And, the path that I'm going is this direction. What can I do for others to help them do the same? How can I help others overcome some of the same difficulties or maybe some of the same blocks that they have in their own mind? So it became like inherent in me. I mean, I did it,
Yeah.
but I didn't do it like, I didn't understand what it was until I saw it from that perspective. And then it just, changed my life. It was essentially what at an early stage in my career defined me as this is my passion, giving back to others, helping them achieve their goals, helping them. Because like I said, any accolades that I get, I'm grateful for it, but it never fills me like it does when I'm helping someone else take advantage of an opportunity, get their degree. Somebody says, "Hey Jay, I got my degree because of the information you gave me, or got this certification." Like that more so, or I was able to obtain this qual or do this. That meant more to me, and that was more fulfilling to me than anything else. So that's kind of like the direction that I took it, and haven't looked back.
I can definitely identify with what you're saying. There's two things with me, over the years that specifically I can identify with you. And one of them is, giving back to your community, giving back to your people, and then also never forgetting those who go to bat for you, and making them proud. And for me, I've had a lot of people, I'm sure you can say the same, who have really stuck their neck out and really gone the extra mile. And they, in my heart and mind, will always be a big part of me. And it's something that I think about whenever I do accomplish something. And so I understand what you're saying. So it sounds like your mentor helped guide you onto the path of helping others. Is that going forward? Do you think that's going to be something that you plan on doing?
Oh yeah, I mean that's my life's purpose. That's inherent in who I am. You can be on the elevator ride with me, and it is only a few seconds before I mention education or something. I've had multiple sailors or soldiers that was like, "Hey man, so are you working on your degree?" Or because for me, I didn't understand the significance and importance of education. And Master Chief Simpson, well, like I said, was one of those individuals that he guided me early on. So I remember when I first started doing the education brief, and I had another mentor, Steve Pinero. He's a fellow O, and he's an awesome dude, man. And he kind of helped me understand some of the things that I didn't know and about education. So I took some of the knowledge that he told me about, and I kind of put this together. And I was like, maybe I can help people by putting this presentation together and, talk about like the successes that I've had. So I was able to knock out like 15, like aside from the warfare qualifications, I was able to knock out like 15 certs. I was able to take advantage of a lot of different educational opportunities. So I was like, let me see if I can help others take advantage of CLEPS, Dante certifications. So I started doing that, and I did like one presentation, and it was horrible. It was horrible. Yeah, I still remember it to this day. And Master Chief Simpson was there, and he was like, at the time, he was just like, he's like, that's some really great information.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna do that again. And I was like, Master, you didn't see what just happened. Like that was pretty bad. Like I'm not a public speaker. And he was like, no, you don't understand. You're gonna do this again. And I was like, clearly, like we weren't in the same, but he was insistent on me doing it, and all he says is just no, and that was it. I was like, I guess I gotta do it again. Let me do it again. And so it goes from that to, I did that presentation countless amount of times. I've helped over 14,000 service members with that presentation, and that's kind of like the roots of Act Now Education and what it's grown to be. So it started there, right? It started with somebody believing in me, telling me that I could do stuff and being able to mentor me in that manner. And I want to be able to do that for others. I know I'm not going to be able to reach everybody, but I don't want anyone to miss an opportunity that they may not know of or are not aware of because of some of their own limitations, some of the things that hold them back, some of the things that set them back. Everyone feels a certain way, and everyone has insecurities. But it's really how you deal with that and grow with that make you who you are. So for me, is my mission, my goal to have that type of effect on those that I'm around, because you just don't know what one thing can do to help someone overcome some of these challenges. And sometimes that's what you just need. You just need, to know that someone believes in you, and then the rest is up to them to take it on, and pass it down. So that's for me. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure how many people I've helped or, assisted with. And not like I try to keep count or anything like that. I just know that I try.
Yeah.
And I give back what was given to me, and I try to give it back twofold. So yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
So that's really interesting because you're right that sometimes people are limited to what they know that's available out there. I have found that over the years that some of the biggest obstacles that people have are themselves, believing in themselves. And so, how do you get someone who doesn't believe in themselves to understand that they're basically in their own way?
That's a challenge, right? And the majority of the time when I'm talking to people that are doing transitioning, or I'm talking to someone about, their goals, that's really what I'm talking about. I'm not even like, I do mention resources and stuff and people know me for that, but it's mainly just more so I'm addressing that mind state. You can either, it's a famous quote that I like, you can have the things that you want or the reasons why you don't. So I didn't want to give myself a bunch of excuses or excuses why you don't. I didn't want to give myself a bunch of excuses on why I didn't have the things that I wanted or why I wasn't able to attain the things that I wanted, because I knew that that just meant I was stopping myself or preventing myself from being able to, aspire to do better and try to put myself forward, even if I know I'm not necessarily going to be able to be successful at every endeavor I involve myself in. I still want to look for the experience and learn from that. So when I talk to people, and I'm usually addressing that, we're talking about that because you're the only thing that at the end of the day that can stop you. There's things that can, be like roadblocks, and limit you. And especially when I come from, and that's that's why I think like my past and my childhood, I wouldn't change. Like I said, it's not a good situation, but I wouldn't change anything about it because it helped me understand that if I'm able to overcome that and I do have value, every person has value. They just may not understand that. So when I'm talking to people, that's what I'm addressing. I'm saying the value that they have added, what they can do, how they can overcome their situation, but mainly how they can stop limiting and restricting themselves and just get to it. You can talk about it. You can think about it. But if you just execute it, you'll probably be done with whatever it is that you were trying to.
You got to be about it.
Yeah, you got to be about it. Absolutely. So that's really like, I guess, the focal point for me. And that's what I try to do. I try to do my best at helping people understand that.
Right.
You can't, like I said, I know I can't help everybody, but that's from my standpoint. And I tell people my story, where I come from and what it is for me. And it was like, look, if I can succeed in life,
right,
you could too. There's no excuses here. It's just more so identifying what it is and getting after it.
Yeah. What an arc. You went from not understanding much about education to becoming an advocate for helping others to not make, mistakes. And now that we know a little bit about your life and career, having been devoted to helping others, tell us a little bit about what you've done over the years to help others realize their potential, overcome their internal obstacles, and learn the importance of education.
No, absolutely. Knowledge is empowering, right? So that's what kind of gave me that understanding. The thing that I look at, right, just look at it as a story, your chapter, right? You are the narrator of your story. You can write your story however you want. You may have some bad chapters in there, but you could definitely write some good ones. And at the end of the day, you're the author. If you don't like the way the narrative's going, change it. So when I'm talking to people, or over the years, I just see what people are trying to do and what individuals would like to achieve. And, sometimes they just don't know what they don't know. So I try to do my best at putting that out there. So utilizing ACT now as a platform to provide people with resources, educational information, and maybe possibly job opportunities, is the goal, because I want people to understand that, one, they're not in their struggle alone. You may feel like, and a lot of people do feel like this, but there are others going through the same thing that you are. Is not just inherent to yourself, your own situation, but knowing that you apply yourself and utilize these resources, because these resources can change your life. They can have an impact on you that you never thought, you or your family. I've been on the phone with a lot of veterans that feel like they're down on their luck because of this chapter, right? They don't necessarily did everything or took advantage of the time while they were in. And then when they got out, they were talked about, the military kind of makes us feel like we're on a pedestal, that, any employer is going to want to hire us. And that's not really the case. I mean, granted, you have to work at anything that you do, and you got to understand what your values are. But a lot of time, I feel without understanding what you're getting into and how empowering resources and using this knowledge is to kind of help you achieve your goals or do your transition, it limits you. So that's why that's my driving force. Like, that's what we focus on, and that's what we try to do as best as possible. We try to give people the opportunity to learn about stuff and take advantage of things. There's over 40,000 different organizations out there that support the military community. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to, find something that works for you and be able to leverage it. I know back in the day it wasn't like that, but with all the resources now, you have to leverage these opportunities, because it could be the difference between you doing the things that you want in life and you not.
You've mentioned Act Now Education several times, and for our listeners out there that aren't familiar with Act Now Education, would you mind just giving us a brief on what that organization involves?
Yeah, Act Now Education is like the resources for the military community. Essentially, we focus on the active duty veterans, military spouses, and we try to gather useful resources and put them in one place so that you can look through and see what's available. There's a lot of different programs out there, whether it be job employment programs, upskill programs, certification programs, whatever it is that is beneficial at no cost. We try to provide that because it's a service. We have a group of volunteers that my team is pretty strong. They're awesome individuals that, they believe in this because they know that the benefit of education and helping people is empowering them to do things has an impact on their careers and can have impact on those around you. If you don't know about what you don't know about, it like I said, it could be limiting, but if you find out these resources are available and you're able to pass this information on and share it, you can make some waves. So that's what we're about.
Right. And Act Now Education, I'll say this much, as long as I've been around it so far, you've been kind of the flame that everyone is you're the center of the actual Act Now Education. There's something about your personality, your character, who you are as a person, your genuine style that I think people are gravitated to. Because you definitely do have a very robust team. And I'll tell you this much, you are so involved in so many different things. I don't know how you sleep. Like, I really don't. And with this Coursera thing that we recently just kicked off, absolutely amazing opportunity. Act Now is a phenomenal organization. We love to talk about success, but it's the failures, the hard times, and even the utter catastrophes that allow us to grow. So what are some of your most notable suboptimal moments throughout your career? And did you manage to turn those into opportunities for success?
Honestly, I mean, there's a lot of failures I've had, but I have never kept track, and I've never, it's just not one of those things that,
right.
I just don't have a failure mentality. It's just more so, what did I learn from that and how can I improve? Life is all about growth. And I don't feel it's very black and white as success and failure. I just feel like as long as you do what you can to improve yourself at day to day, just be a better human being day by day. I mean, you'll get to where you need to be. You'll be around the people that you need to be. So be around. So it's just, it's
right.
For me, I don't know, like I said, I've had a lot, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but, yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with you on that. And that's the one thing about the military is the military pushes you off the platform, whether you're ready or not. The military will put you in positions of authority and put you in positions of responsibility. And whether you succeed or you fail, you're going to have that opportunity. Whereas in the civilian world, you may start working somewhere as a very low-level employee with almost no responsibility. And in the military, right off the bat, almost, as soon as you're done with basic training, you're given, some level of responsibility. And it's all about the life lessons of failure and success. And I can definitely identify with failure. And I think that when you come from the type of background that you've come from, those types of obstacles don't really get in your way because you understand you've been there before. You've been behind the 8-ball.
We're a lot more resilient than we think we are.
Right.
So yeah, it's definitely holds true. And as I said, as long as you're leaning in, and then you build your tribe around you, get people that you can connect with, like-minded. Actually, they don't even have to be like-minded. They could be just like-hearted. Make sure they're like-hearted. They could have difference of opinion. You can get a lot of things done.
Just in case anyone listening out there would like to link up or connect with you, what are some of the best platforms for them to get in touch with you?
I would say definitely hit us up on Facebook. Hit me up on Facebook or LinkedIn. You can also, I'm a Veterati mentor and a Keys mentor. So please, feel free to go to the Veterati website. And, if you want, just a one-on-one, I definitely don't mind doing that. And like I said, I'm here to give back as best as I possibly can. We can do a lot more together. So that's my focus. If you want to hit me up, reach me there. You can also reach me at j@actnoweducation.com if you got any questions. But do give me some time. I tend to, stack my plate pretty high, but I get to it. I will definitely make sure that I reach out because, as I said, my focus is helping people. And that's what I want to do.
And, you also have an amazing team with the Act Now Education.
Absolutely. Strong team. Shout out to the whole Act Now Education team. Phenomenal individuals. I couldn't pick a better group of individuals. I mean, seriously, I don't know how, but when you do things right, like-hearted people come around, and my team has been phenomenal this whole way through. And I'm very thankful and blessed to work with some of these individuals that I work with.
So what's the website for Act Now Education?
It's www.actnoweducation.com. And then, like I said, we're all over social media. So just go to Act Now Education. We should be the first thing that pops up. Please feel free to reach out, show up to one of our events. Connect. Let's see what we can do. See how we can help you move forward with some of these resources that we have.
No, sounds good. Sounds really good. Anyone listening out there, please check out the Act Now Education website. Opportunities are coming up every single week. And want to mention on Fridays, the military mix-up room in Clubhouse. Join us at 5:30 Pacific time, and that's 8:30 Eastern time. Jay, I want to say thank you for your time today. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Appreciate the team. Don't waste any time. Act now.
All right. With that being said, thank you for your time today, everyone. Thank you for listening, and we're out. You've been listening to the Morning Formation Podcast. I hope you found today's materials helpful and of value to your current situation. You can connect with me on Instagram at _morning_formation_podcast, or you can connect with me via email at theformationpodcaster@gmail.com. Also, I would like to thank my partners at Act Now Education for their support. Authenticity, community, and trusted is what you can expect from all members of the Act Now Education team. You can link up with them today and learn about some new, free educational resources on their Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or at their website, actnoweducation.com. Whether today's show took you back to a nostalgic time or helped you think about tomorrow, thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you again. Stay safe and stay motivated. Warriors, fall out.